We're about to start the next session, how to develop patient-centric products through design thinking, lean startup, and agile coaching. And our speaker is Laura Gil, Head of Exploration at Roche. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Great to have you. How about the weather where you are right now in Zurich?
I'm in Zurich. Yeah, it's not so bad, not raining, but we have clouds all over the ceiling. So yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully
Okay, sorry. So we'll have the one-on-one session on the innovation in the healthcare industry, but let's start with a quick overview of your role as a head of exploration at Roche. What are you responsible for? What is the scope of your work?
Sure. So I work in Roche Diagnostics in a department called Innovation and Research. And in our department, our mission is to ensure that the right ideas make it to the patients and customers. And we are a team of 50 people, multidisciplinary team. We have like software people, engineers, people with lab experience, psychologists, business. And we all together drive end-to-end innovation. From the first idea, what is the problem we want to solve, design, and then deliver to a minimum viable product. And in this context, I'm responsible for exploration. That is the first part of this innovation funnel. This means getting ideas from the organization. This can be from our salespeople, business people, customers, but also like people maybe from outside the organization, and then selecting them, what are the ones more linked to our strategy, and run them through exploration framework or process, which takes around 6 to 8 weeks. If we're very fast, we can do it in 4 weeks. And the idea of exploration is to do design thinking. So really like we go in multidisciplinary teams, try to understand first what is the knowledge inside the organization. So because we're a big organization, there's people with a lot of knowledge. So we always try to understand like what this problem, who has explored it before, like are there in other industries people doing similar things? And then based on that, we go out, talk to our customers, learn from them, observe them, and try to answer 3 questions. Is it the problem we want to solve? Is it desirable? Do our customers need a solution? Is it viable? Can we make money out of it? Is there willingness to pay? And is it feasible? Is the technology out there, or we need to wait 20 years like to make that happen? And then based on that, we then decide, okay, we want to pass this project into a design phase to really deep dive and design the solution, or we just stop, or we just pivot and explore another one. So I would say in a nutshell, my role is to ensure that we only invest in solutions that solve problems that are worth solving, right? So really like, we don't want to invest money in solutions for problems that nobody needs, but really ensure, are we really designing something that is worth solving?
Okay, thanks for that great introduction and overview of your role. It was very detailed. Let me ask about one thing, because I'm curious. So you mentioned that you have the exploration at Roche Diagnostics.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like 2 or 3 major units that Roche is split?
There are 2 units. We have Roche Diagnostics and Roche Pharma. And in diagnostics, we're responsible for the diagnostic solution, which is like all the diagnostic tests, instruments, but also automation in the laboratory. And we also go one step more and try to provide healthcare decision supports for clinicians, and also try to help patients as well in their journey. And in Roche Pharma, are more focused in the research for pharmaceutical treatments for different disease areas, especially oncology, but also others. So we can see like we have some overlaps, for example, in the oncology part, where we have diagnostic solutions, but also treatments. And this is where we work closely together to try to understand how we together can join forces and also run exploration projects together, or this design thinking approach.
Okay, I'm curious, would you agree with my following statement? So I'm not coming from the pharma industry, nor do I have any experience within the healthcare industry, but I was when I'm thinking about the healthcare industry, it's like the industry itself has long relied on traditional linear models of innovation. So basic and applied research followed by development and commercialization with limited input from patients. So how design thinking and agile approach helped change that situation?
Yeah, you're right. I think like in the healthcare industry or also in other industries, like companies that are very technology strong or science strong, like that they really invest a lot in R&D, in research, and trying to come up with the best technologies. And sometimes what happens here is that there is really a disconnection between the engineering teams and the real customer environment, what is happening on the customer side. And they are only involved very late in the process, right? So just when there would be a pilot and then you would show the new product or technology to the customer, and then you would realize there is a mismatch. Maybe it's too sophisticated, or maybe the features that we provide are not giving value to them, maybe to others, right? So that could be the old approach or old way, like very stage gate of with milestone and promising, like we will have our launch in 3 years' time, and then run through a stage gate approach. And the difference now on how design thinking and agile helps, it really it helps in different areas. So I would say on one side, it's by bringing also like the development team closer to the customer side, right? So when we build this multidisciplinary team and we go one step back and have our engineers also going to the customer, learning from the needs of the customers, when they need to be involved then on developing the solution, they have in mind the pains and the challenge, and they can develop and come up even with better solutions, right? Not having them just giving them an idea, can you do artificial intelligence for this app, or can you develop an app for a patient? And if they never talk to patients, how are they going to know like the best features that it has? So I would say, like, for me, that's a key success factor also in the engagement of the team. Another one, we know that we de-risk innovation. So we only invest in things that, as we said, it's worth solving. So by early on, we go out to customers, and then if we feel like there's really no need, or we pivot right away, or we stop right away, we are not afraid to stop because we didn't invest that much money. It's much different to pivot when you have been 3 years, right, in the engineering, in the development process. So that I would say, like, de-risking innovation and really invest on things continuously where you have evidence that it provides value. And the last one, and here I would say for me the most important one, is that by using design thinking and agile, especially in the healthcare sector, we ensure that we provide value to all the stakeholders involved. So starting by the patient, right? So the patient, who at the end is the ultimate receiver for all these new advancements in the technology and the research, to ensure that it's not only the technology that comes to the patient, but also the access, also the services surrounding, and everything where he can feel the value. And then also, of course, the clinicians, the laboratories, and different like healthcare providers, to ensure that we together and that we really understand the needs of each of them. And when we develop a solution, that also it's taken into account. And at the end, we will have better patient engagement and also better clinical outcomes.
Would you agree that we are observing right now a shift to humanize, so to speak, healthcare innovation based on this human-centered design and co-creation?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are the benefits of? You've already shared some
Mm-hmm.
examples, but I'm really curious to hear if there's any like that tangible case study or project that you could share your lessons learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like as I said, I really see the trend, right? And also the trend on putting the patient at the center, or also at our side, like innovation teams, but business teams, and also like in the public and private sector. And what I would say, as I said, the key thing is to really understand the context in which the patient or our customers work and live, right? And I would like to provide maybe an example which is a bit more tangible about a chronic disease patient. So patients who have these chronic diseases. And we might think as a company, how can we help them, or how can we help clinical decision support? So how could we help doctors to take better decisions when they manage these patients? And if we humanize, especially if we talk about digital health solutions, right, about digitalization, instead of thinking about algorithms, we would go out to visit those doctors, and we would talk to doctors that are very junior in their field, that maybe are less knowledgeable about like how is the disease of a patient, and we would go to doctors that are much more experienced, and then talk to them and see how do they make decisions, what are the key challenges that they have. For example, that they have a lot of papers in front of them and they don't know how to make sense of all the information. Or we would see that some doctors prefer to talk more to the patient and are more like observant of how the patient is, and others are more reliant on data, right? And try to understand, okay, how can we help all these clinicians when they manage the patients? So we could stay here and then try to develop a tool based on all the information we have, based on all the data that can help the clinicians. And this would not be enough. Because if we just stay at the clinician level, what will happen is that everything at the hospital side will go very good. Maybe even the doctor will have a way to track the status of the patient when the patient is at home, or to decide what to do with the patient and what treatment can they give to the patient. But then the patient arrives at home and the patient is alone there. And maybe the patient has psychological problems. Maybe the patient, chronic disease patients, if they don't feel their disease, they will start going back to a lifestyle that it's not healthy, that they will start not doing sports and maybe even forgetting to take the treatment, right? And not adhering to the whole treatment and healthy lifestyle. And then this patient will be very fast decompensated and will have high chances, even if we have created the best digital tools for our doctors, so they can manage better the patients. If at the patient side, nobody cares about them, nobody thinks about how can I change the behavior of the patient, how can I motivate him with tools or with gamification to be healthy and to take care of their own disease, right? Then if we don't do that, then we will just miss one part of the system. So I think and I really see the trend, and also when I talk to clinicians, and I really see this focus about understanding the patient and also the different patient types, and it's not the same like maybe a young person that a person that it's 60 years old or 70 years old, a person who lives in a city, or a village that it's 2 hours from the closer hospital. So try to understand all these small differences, and then see if there's a pattern out of some patterns out of it, and to create solutions. So I would see that's one big value and very tangible on why we should focus not only on one stakeholder, not only on our direct customer, would be a clinician, but then go one step ahead.
I think that this new approach that involves diverse stakeholders, by diverse I mean clinicians, designers, engineers, business professionals, business product owners, and patients. How are you engaging them early in the innovation process? So do you have any routines, any experiences that you can share? So how did Roche set it up to work?
Yeah, what it's very important is that whenever we start a new project, before we start, we already think about with whom we want to talk to, so that we can already start accelerating all these customer visits, contacts. Normally, we go to our regions, our affiliates, who then they will contact their end customers.
There's an interesting question coming from Andrea. How does Roche rank KPIs in innovation to monitor results and to reward people and to generate traction for their smart solutions?
Mm-hmm.
This is the question you can take.
Yeah, I would say it might depend on the department. So in our case, what we do is we check how many explore projects do we get, how many ideas do we get in the pipeline, how many and how long does it take us to validate an idea, right? So to run from explore to design and deliver. And based on that, how many pivots do we do and how many prototypes are involved? All of these, more than KPIs, are requirements. So when we go through the different phases and we have a set of evidence points, or we call it fact base, we need to collect. continue further. So that's how we do it in the innovation team. And I'm sure there are other KPIs in the company, but I'm sorry, I cannot provide more information about that.
That's fine. I think it's clear for the audience that you can share your own role and your own KPIs. There's another question coming from Adam. We are focusing on the patient side. Do you see the need to innovate internal managing system in the hospital? Use newest trends to apply, like artificial intelligence, for example. So do you see this need as well on this side?
Sure. Yeah. At the end, in the hospital has a lot of potential, as we said, to digitalize process and also digitalize from paperwork to digital work, to even like provide more information to clinicians on what happens with the patient, maybe trends on what might be the next diseases that the patient might have. So it's also about providing decision support to the clinician, but also on the internal processes. I don't know, like the patient might be waiting in the line for long because the process between subscribing and then sending the patient to the test room, maybe it's not the most optimal, right? So also there's a lot to be done and potentials to improve.
I would like to ask you about one more thing. How the current or recent COVID-19 situation impacted the work on the innovation on your side?
On my side, because I really rely on customer observations and insights, I had to do a small pause or we had to reinvent ourselves how we do interviews, because now we cannot go to the hospitals because it's not safe anymore, or our laboratories, who are also our customers, are very busy getting the test done, right? So trying to think about pause and maybe even change the type of projects we were working. So also we work more maybe internal innovation or more process innovation, where we didn't need like to access to all those stakeholders. So there is a lot we learned in digital facilitation, digital interviewing, and trying to do research from afar.
Right. When I look at your role, I think that the part of your role at Roche is to be an innovation ambassador within the really large and complex organization. How do you carry the innovation mindset into the broader organization?
I think it's twofold. One thing, it's about educating, sharing, providing training and sessions like the one I'm doing now. Like I've also done it internally, finance team, internal teams, customer-facing teams. That's one part. And this already creates a lot of aha and momentum that after the sessions, people say, I want to start applying myself for my internal customers and externals. And then the other one that I think is even more powerful, it's about doing projects with people in the organization, not doing only the innovation team, but I have run workshops and projects like 3 months projects with team across Asia Pacific or EMEA LATAM, where we were 10 people together from different functions, and they ran through design thinking and they interviewed themselves customers and they draw the insights. And they felt uncomfortable because they were like, wow, so much information, what do we do? What do we do with it? But at the end, they went through it. And what is super very rewarding is that now, after they have went through the process, they say, any new project where we really don't know about what's really the problem we want to solve, we should run it this way. So now they are the next ambassadors who will be implementing these ways of working also in their regions and in their organizations.
Okay, that's interesting. We have time for, I would say, 2 more questions. It's not an easy task, I would assume, to identify and rank problems, all the ideas, fresh ideas, to all these aha moments, because I believe that after you somehow provoke people, provoke new thoughts, new ideas, you need to somehow decide which ideas should go first in the innovation funnel. So, is there any ways of assessment you use to decide on that?
At the beginning, it's very fast assessment, like high level about, is it linked to our strategic pillars? Do we see there's business opportunity? Is it the problem broad enough that we can explore? And if it's yes, then, and also do we have business commitment or people who really want that to happen, we would then move to explore. And for me, the most important criteria is after we run the exploration phase, that we rank the ideas in desirability, viability, and feasibility. And we need to get fact-based on, is it really desirable, like what we're doing? And what about the technologies? Like, will we be able to make it or not? And viable, do we see any willingness to pay? And here, and what are our assumptions? What are our riskiest assumptions? And what dependencies do we have of other technologies or other projects? And based on that, on like ranking on these three criteria, then very straightforward, we then, even the project team, it's not even the committee, it's like the project team itself recommend, shall we proceed and in which direction, or shall we just stop and take another one?
Great, thanks for that. We are almost run out of time, so that's the final note, final minute. Laura, would you agree with the statement that the key to the successful implementation of digital healthcare solution is patient engagement? So that we need a mutual trust between healthcare providers and patients. So because without it, even the most sophisticated digital solutions won't improve the patient's medical outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said it in my, I think, 2 examples that I provided. Very important. We gain the patient trust. The patient is engaged and is involved in the process, and then we will be able to add value to the patient and to all the other people involved.
Thanks so much for that. We just run out of time. Thank you so much for being here with us, Laura. We'll have a short break now, and let's start another part soon. Thank you,
Thomas. It was a pleasure. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye-bye.